Handheld DIY brings you improved accuracy, increased resistance, and better comfort with a mod for your onexplayer X1 compatible controller cons for playing games like Doom Dark Ages. Hey fans and subscribers, this is your host Joe on the Gaming for Insight channel with you to bring this video and online guide to you for modding your onexplayer controller cons for onexplayer X1 devices like the X1 Pro with the tighter Hall joystick for Legion Go with free tools kit for FPS games by HandheldDIY. You might be thinking, Joe, you just said putting joysticks for the Legion Go in onexplayer controller cons. Everyone is going to correct you in the comments on this one, and it's just going to be awful. You heard me right. Fans and subscribers, HandheldDIY has a mod option for your X1 compatible controller cons that was originally designed for the OG, that's right, OG 2023 Lenovo Legion Go. Out of full disclosure, HandheldDIY sent me these joysticks, and I did disclose to them that I would be installing them in the onexplayer controller cons instead of the OG Legion Go. No money was exchanged and no terms were set. Thank you, HandheldDIY, for giving me the opportunity to use another set of your joysticks with a mod and helping make this guide possible. Thank you. This video provides an overview of a guide I built on my website for the steps you need to take to upgrade your joysticks on your X1 compatible controller cons, and it is more approachable than ever to do so. I encourage you to check out my online guide if you are looking for more details and to answer questions you may have too. Okay, so with the introduction out of the way, let's talk about modding your controllers for onexplayer X1 X1 Mini with the tighter Hall joystick for Legion Go from HandheldDIY. How did I come to discover the possibility of this mod, you might be asking? During one of my quick chats that I recorded with Nelly at Gaming Repairs, she shared with me her success with this mod. Thank you, Nelly, as well, for helping make this guide possible. Okay, so you need some items before you get started with this mod. You need an X1 series device from onexplayer. onexplayer devices do come with the controller cons you will mod using this video and guide. Next, HandheldDIY makes it easy and gives you what you need to complete the install of the mod in the kit sent with these particular joysticks. Next, you will need your browser of choice to visit Gamepad Tester, so to use with the controller calibration for the joysticks. There are some optional items you can use to help make this mod installation even more approachable. I have those details on my online guide as optional items. The improvements you gain with this mod make it completely worth following through with. You gain an enhanced gaming experience like with Doom Dark Ages. The tighter Hall joystick for Legion Go from HandheldDIY modded on the controllers for onexplayer X1 X1 Mini gives me improved accuracy and better control in playing Doom Dark Ages. And it can for you too. You need to try it for yourself. The improved accuracy and better control with the tighter Hall joystick for Legion Go from HandheldDIY is both due to the resistance in the joysticks having its 100 grams of force or GF measurement. Next, you gain improved accuracy. The higher GF measurement is felt with the tighter Hall joysticks for Legion Go from HandheldDIY. Overall, I experience better comfort when making movements that I have in Gamepad Tester when gaming. There is some additional insight to gain about the onexplayer controller cons that Nelly from Gaming Repairs shared with me, and I have included that on my online guide for those interested. What is really significant here, though, is this mod makes me want to use my X1 devices again in handheld mode instead of tablet or laptop mode. This HandheldDIY mod makes me feel like I have brand new X1 devices. And who doesn't want new X1 devices, right? Upgraded and perfected for FPS games. Let's now get to the mod installation itself, the fun part. My online guide focuses on one controller con at a time. For this video, I'm going to combine common areas between the controller cons you are installing and then distinguish where there is difference with the mod for each controller con. I am doing this to help save you time. This way, you can be working on both at the same time if you want to, or do one at a time with my online guide. For both controller cons, you want to start by unfastening and removing the 4 screws to separate the controller cons. Begin unfastening them with the screwdriver provided by HandheldDIY, and I use the same screwdriver throughout the mod installation. Please take the utmost patience with this part. I can't emphasize this enough. Some screws may remain inserted despite unfastening them. Use my online guide for help to ensure you do not strip the top of the screws, as that's really easy to do during this step. To separate the back of each controller con, use the guitar pick provided by HandheldDIY. The left and right directions I refer to are with the back of the controller con in view, i.e. facing you. I started with inserting the guitar pick in between the casing on the right-hand side, below or beneath the bumper. Begin to wedge the guitar pick in and move down each controller con one at a time. Be patient with this process, as some screws that remain inserted but unfastened may jettison abruptly when the controller casing separates fully. Jettison. I like that word. I don't get to use that word often. You will want to be cognizant of what screws remain inserted, yet unfasten and collect those two to put them on the side. Also, ensure that you keep track of the black plastic piece that may fall onto the surface you are working on for this mod. Don't worry, your controller isn't broken. The black plastic piece in each controller con serves as the button that functions for ejecting or separating the controller con from an X1 device when you want to remove it. We will reinsert each one later when we reassemble the controller cons. And you want to reinsert that black plastic piece because you're going to be in trouble there when you connect those controller cons to the X1 device. At this point, both controller cons are open. Screws, plastic pieces, and other components should be put to the side and kept track of while there. On each controller con, each joystick has a joystick cover and is connected to a plate. There is also a data cable extending from each joystick that connects to a white port with a black hinge. For the right controller con, the data cable is located above the joystick and its plate. For the left controller con, the data cable is connected below the joystick and its plate. Importantly, you are going to want to focus on different areas to fully remove and attach the joystick components during this mod installation. For my online guide, I disconnect the data cables last, and here in this video, I am disconnecting them first. Either approach will do. I mean, who doesn't want options? Follow the approach that you prefer, just as long as you remain cognizant of when each data cable is connected or disconnected to the data port, as you do not want to accidentally tear one during the mod installation. Okay, let's continue with the mod installation itself. Starting with the right controller, disconnect the data cable from the above data port. To do this, unlock the black hinge on the data port. If you are unable to reach it with your finger or fingernail, like myself, then you can remove two screws on the plastic housing at the top of the controller to provide yourself more room to work with. Just make sure you put those screws to the side to locate them easily again, and so to not confuse them with other screws that you may be putting aside. I actually removed the screws here and used tweezers to lift the plastic piece just enough so to get the guitar pick close enough to unlock the hinge of the port. And what a process that was. You may need to follow through with that depending on the size of your fingers, so I recommend following through with whichever approach of the two works best for you. For the left controller, access to the data port and unlocking the hinge to it is more approachable. Unlock that hinge using your finger, fingernail, or guitar pick. On both controller cons, there are 3 screws on plates that connect each joystick that you need to unfasten and remove. However, the orientation is different for each plate. For the right controller con, you have immediate access to these screws. However, for the left controller con, the top screw is partially concealed by its trigger. You will need to position the trigger by pushing it forward so to provide the spacing needed to place the screwdriver onto the screw so to unfasten and remove it. Unfasten and remove the 3 screws that keep the plate secure to each controller con. Put those screws each to the side where approachable to find them again, and make sure not to confuse them with the others. Ensure that the data cable is indeed able to be disconnected on each controller con. Unlock the black hinges on the data ports if you haven't yet already. 1 data port for each controller con. Try a slight wiggle, and if the data cable does not immediately exit the port, then try a very slight pull. Very slight pull. Nothing more. Take your time and continue to check so to ensure that the black hinge on the white data port is indeed unlocked for each controller con. I kept track of which joystick with connected plate came from which controller con so I recommend continuing to do so here, so to avoid any confusion in the mod installation. For each joystick connected to plate, unfasten and remove the top and bottom screws. Place those joysticks to the side, though keep the screws right with you as you will use them in just a moment. Take one of the new handheld DIY joysticks. Either one for left or right controller con will work, as we do not need to keep track of which handheld DIY joystick is for the left or right controller con in this case, like with other mods. Align each handheld DIY joystick to the plate, ensuring that the data cable is extending from the direction agreeable for reconnecting the plate again. Use my online guide to assist with that further if you lose track. Insert the screws and fasten each new handheld DIY joystick to its plate so that they are now connected to the metal plates. Okay, at this point, we can return to each controller con and install the new handheld DIY joysticks connected to plates. For the left controller con, align the data cable so that it inserts into the data port located below where the joystick connected to plate is to be installed. Once you do, you can choose here whether you want to close the hinge at this point or continue with positioning the joystick into the cavity where it belongs, while reattaching the joystick cover as well. Just ensure you do not abruptly move the joystick connected to plate from the cavity and tear the data cable if you close the black hinge on the port. The left controller con requires you to position the joystick connected to plate under the trigger mechanism again, so be mindful of the positioning needed for that, so to insert and fasten the screws again at the top. For both controller cons, positioning the plate with joystick helps when using one or both thumbs while guiding the joystick cover to attach to the joystick on the other side. For the right controller con, I position the joystick connected to plate into the cavity of the controller con before connecting the data cable to the data port located above the cavity of where installing the joystick connected to plate. Use of the guitar pick assists with ensuring that the data cable was successfully connected to the port and was secured. The guitar pick as well can help you fasten the black hinge of each data port. Do take note in the locations of each data port. Again, they are in different positions on each controller con. Before you insert and fasten the 3 screws for each plate on the controller cons, take the opportunity to assess the state of the data cables. You can move the plates very slightly to see if one data cable or both is not secured, as the data cable would exit its intended port easily. You can use tweezers as well to see if the tweezers give evidence to a data cable perhaps being disconnected and not secured in the intended data port. Regardless, proceed with patience for this part. I can't emphasize that enough, as this can be a challenging part of the mod installation. Insert and secure the 3 screws on the plates connected to joysticks for the controller cons. If you remove the screws for the plastic housing on the right controller con, insert and fasten those screws again, as you might have needed that extra room lifting the housing slightly to access that data port and hinge to it in the earlier steps. My online guide goes into further details on assisting with this part of the installation on each controller con individually. So if you need that help, it is there for you. Okay, so now you are ready to insert and reattach the back plate or casing to each controller con. Take another moment if you would like to check those data cables once again and ensure they are connected as best you can for each. Place each black plastic piece in the designated area originally placed. There is a small open area for placing it in the upper left-hand side of the left controller con facing back and on the upper right-hand side of the right controller con facing back. Go ahead and snap that back casing into place for each. Retrieve those same 4 screws again for each controller con, insert them, and fasten them all. Ensure that you can move the joystick in different positions without any awkward feeling, as that confirms that the joystick attached to plate was inserted and secured optimally. The last part of the mod installation is the joystick calibration itself. Connect your newly modded controller cons to an X1 series device. Open your browser of choice. Hey, I made a mistake. I was doing this whole mod and I didn't use my browser of choice for the calibration. You think they're going to get me in the comments for that? And access gamepad tester. Once you see the initial page prompting you to connect a controller, press a button on one of the controller cons. You will notice that your joystick center points may not be fully centered on the circular diagram, and that's okay. That is expected as the joysticks require a calibration. Using your thumbs, hold down on both top buttons of the controller cons near the triggers. Continue to hold them until you notice the orange light appear on the button directly below the top button on the right controller con that you are holding. Next, rotate each of the joysticks in a clockwise position 3 times at least simultaneously. Then press down on both triggers 3 times simultaneously. Press the Y button to exit the calibration process. You should see that the joystick's center points are fully centered on the diagram. If you are having trouble with this final step of the mod installation, then check my online guide for help. Okay, so at this point, you should have newly modded X1 controller cons that you can enjoy for your favorite FPS games and more. And I am loving this mod. This is excellent. It's a complete upgrade, like I mentioned, brand new device. That's what it feels like for my X1 devices in handheld mode. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Have you checked the online guide? Is that helpful? Really looking forward to what you have to say. And I'm looking forward to reading what you have to say and responding back in the comments. It means a lot for you fans and subscribers to let me know and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you, HandheldDIY, again, so much for making this mod possible and this guide possible as well. I should go.